What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about it. Andrew J has the internet going nuts, and I'm excited for it. Now, when I say going nuts, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, depending on how you feel, because based on these comments here on Twitter, seems like a lot of people aren't feeling Andrew's latest tweets. Now, first of all, I want to say, as an Andrew supporter, this is very good news. Why? Because Andrew Yang is putting himself in the fray. He's not sitting on the sidelines. For the longest, you guys have asked me how I feel about Andrew Yang's latest moves. What's he got going on? Do I think he's really going to be a part of the administration? And I just tell you, no way, no in hell. He has no agency. They don't feel like they need him. And he's been kind of laying low, right? But doing things like this, tossing his name out alongside of Pelosi, calling on Congress to actually be active, to actively, take part in addressing the concerns of regular Americans, is how he becomes an ally to people, so that in a 2024 or 2028 or whatever scenario, whenever he decides that he wants to toss his name back into the foray of politics, like on a real level. People remember where he stood on these issues. Like, he has to put his name out there in these cases, so that way we can say, okay, well, he might not have a political track record, but he has an opinion track record. We know where he stood on certain issues as they came up. This is why, when people will talk about Donald Trump, how he came out of nowhere. Donald Trump's been not necessarily a political commentator, but his opinion has been sought after for like 30 years. He was often called on to say, how do you feel about this this war over here? How do you feel about Iraq? How do you feel about, this decision? How do you feel about Obama? Like, they've always asked him his opinion on things. So even though he wasn't an elected official and he was acting as a businessman, we knew where he stood on certain issues. So now we have this track record of sorts, even though it's not official. So let me show you guys. Oh, okay, cool. I thought I wasn't live. My bad. So let's take a look at what this is. He tweeted out yesterday. Let me pull up my second screen. Sorry, my other camera's acting funny, so I'm going to give you this view today. He tweeted out, Nancy Pelosi, take this deal, put politics aside. People are hurting. Now, of course, he is responding to the $1.8 trillion package that was proposed by the White House. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting scenario. The criticism is that Yang is coming after Pelosi when he should be either A, looking at the package and saying that the package is not sufficient enough, or B, going at Republicans. And I actually kind of agree that he should be also calling out Senate Republicans, but the article that he's referencing does kind of speak to both sides. The article specifically says Democrats and Republicans ripped the White House's $1.8 trillion stimulus. Now, the original offer from Pelosi was the $2.2 trillion. I think it passed maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And then the Senate Republicans proposed a $1.6 trillion, I believe. And then Trump came in as the White House and proposed this $1.8 trillion, which I thought was interesting when I first heard it, that both sides didn't like. Now, Andrew is a Democrat, so he's speaking to the leadership of the Democrats. So while people will call him out for saying, why aren't you speaking to the Republicans? One, he's referencing an article that talks about both sides. But two, he's speaking to the leadership of the Democrats. And I think that's what he's supposed to do. I think he needs to be on the right side of history on this, because this isn't about politics. And, Pelosi for the last several months has had several opportunities to simply say, okay, forget all of these other things we want to do, this renovation over here, and let's just propose checks to people. Because going back a few weeks and a few months now, Trump has said if they just send over a bill authorizing checks to Americans, I want to do it. Of course he does, because he wants to have his name on those checks prior to the election. He's obviously even more desperate now than ever before. But ultimately, this isn't about the politics or who's going to get the credit. For many Americans, this is about their actual life. I'm going to pull up this article real quick. There are a couple of little things I want to talk about in there. And then, like I said, Pelosi has the option to simply say, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do your bill because it doesn't go far enough. She could just propose here's the checks bill, and then have the Republicans balk at it, which would give Americans the opportunity to say, okay, look, She proposed exactly what the president said. She proposed just payments to people, and they still wouldn't do it. That's a problem. But the only way you're going to highlight it is if you actually put it out. And so while some will say he's looking at the wrong people and he should have done it a different way, what do you think people are supposed to do? Like, this is how you fight. Like, you have to actually choose a position and you have to pursue it. You can't sit on the sidelines and then just criticize, which is what, Joe Biden and the Harrises do. They don't really have an opinion. They just kind of wait to see what the polls say, and then they're saying, oh, that's what we agree with today. And if things change, then, of course, they switch it up. Would the Senate Republicans approve a House bill for direct payments? No, they wouldn't. But it would expose the system even further, which, for all the horrible things that have come out of the Trump administration, exposing the system is one of the great things that came out of it. People are now extremely skeptical, not only of the media, but also that they're not really feeling their elected officials. As you can see right now, down ballot Republicans are panicking, which is really weird because you would think in this particular scenario, they would be saying, okay, fine, let's do the 1.8 trillion. It came from the White House. We should get on board with this. This will be good for us. This will be good for the president. And even they didn't like it, which just really surprised me. The difference between 1.8 trillion and 2.2. At that point, we're talking about nickels and dimes, but apparently that's not enough. Give me 1 second. Is this it? Okay. Pelosi's big complaint with the 1.8 trillion is that it doesn't provide a real plan for how we're going to address the pandemic. And again, while there's incredible value in saying that, we need to focus on getting a plan together, people got to pay their bills. So either put a bill out that says, here's the money to help out people. We'll figure out what we're going to do about the plan going forward. Or just get out of office, because clearly you're not looking out for the best interests of people. You're looking out for the best interests of the party. And I don't know if you realize, but in the future, maybe not for her, because, she's 80. She's probably not going to be around too much longer. Maybe she'll leave office. Maybe she's not thinking about the future for her, but the future of the party. People will never forget. This will be like being on the wrong side of the Iraq war vote, or being on the wrong side of the crime bill for some people, or the wrong side of the Affordable Care Act. You don't want to be on the wrong side of stimulus relief for people during the pandemic. And the Republicans, they are trying, because their whole call out of every bill that the Democrats are pushing is these extra measures don't really need to be addressed currently. Now, the Democrats will say, well, some of that spending, it's too discretionary. You shouldn't be able to just send out checks to, whatever industry you decide to send it to. Fair enough. But what about those checks? What about those checks? I asked you before, how do you guys feel about being a pawn in the political game? Because that's what we are. We're just chips. They're just passing us back and forth depending on who they think they can get votes from. And right now, it's pretty much our last chance. If this does not happen in the next 2 weeks, it's not going to happen. Relief will come. Maybe it'll be a tax break for 2020 when you file your taxes, or maybe after Biden is president. But it's not going to be the same. This is going to sting. McConnell's last offer was $300 billion. No, I saw 1.6 trillion. Give me 1 second. Let me find it. Okay, let's see. Senate failed to pass a $1.6 trillion emergency stimulus bill on Sunday after pushback from Democrats who criticized key elements. let's see, one second. Key elements of the package. Democrats contended that the bill prioritizes federal aid for corporations rather than focusing on unemployment insurance and other protections for workers. Among other problems, it includes huge bailouts without protections for people and workers without accountability. And because it shortchanges our hospitals and healthcare workers who need our help, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said on Twitter, the bill, which was intended to relieve the economic impact of the virus, needed 60 votes to pass, was blocked by a split Senate vote 47-47. Biden wants to increase taxes, not give a relief. You know, Biden did say, in fairness, Biden did propose making, what do you call these people who are working right now? Not emergency workers, essential personnel. He did talk about making essential personnel, get some kind of pay bump for time during the pandemic. That's on his policy page. I don't know how that's going to apply to the future after, the pandemic is, presumably over. Maybe that will be for future situations like this. But in 6 months, the leverage is kind of gone, right? It's a completely different conversation if the economy recovers, if, the jobless claims start to go down. It's a different conversation altogether. So, yeah, we'll still be feeling the effects of it, which is why, I can foresee some type of tax incentive, but, the one-time checks, and then time, what I mean? Right now we're on this news cycle where like every day, every other day is just something wild and outlandish. In a few months, it won't probably be that anymore, especially after we're talking about election results. Yang said that the cars headed towards food banks are getting nicer and nicer. That's awesome quote. I have not heard him say that. If Pelosi would contract the virus, she'd refuse health care and just die just to show that Trump is wrong. That's how I feel, man. I really feel like a lot of these people are just like, yo, if we're not getting what we want, we're not going to support it. We're not going to do anything that's going to help Republicans. We're not going to do anything to help the Democrats. We're just trying to win elections. And right now, I think both sides, and this is what I was talking about before, giving up all of the leverage that Democrats have. Like if you're a Democrat, a hardcore Democrat or whatever, you usually vote Democrat. Right now there's a bit of leverage because, well, there was leverage until, these latest polls come out and Biden's at a 15 point lead or something obnoxious. So with that, now they're just like, okay, great. We have the people again. We're in good shape. All we have to do is just land this thing. Trump can only pretty much mess up at this point. The Republicans are backing away from him. He's in a tough spot. So the leverage that we had kind of accumulated over the last, several months is really going down. In fact, I was listening to one of my old videos this morning it said 4 months ago. I guess it was clearly before the pandemic really escalated. Completely different conversation. We were talking about completely different things. I think at that time, it had to be a little bit more than 4 months ago. Maybe it was February, March. I was still talking about, there's no way Biden's going to win this race, and Trump's definitely going to win re-election. And things changed so quickly because of the pandemic. And all of the leverage that, many, different factions had really pushed for slowly started to become eroded as people simply became disenchanted with the president and the administration and the way the handling of the virus really happened. And yeah, that's legitimate that people feel that way, but it just happened so quickly and so many people switch sides that the leverage is gone. It's officially gone. So I'm not really a fan of blanket stimulus checks for everyone, even though I'd get one too. It would be nice. I think it should be focused towards people who can show that they lost work. Understandable. Can I trade my stimulus for Bitcoin? Man, Pelosi, again, in one of her previous bills, you go back to one of my earlier videos, Pelosi talked about, creating a digital dollar on one of her stimulus plans. Like, this is the type of stuff that was in those early stimulus conversations that were not necessary. Yeah, a digital dollar, I think, has incredible value in saying this is the best and most effective way to get direct payments to people. But what she was proposing wasn't really that per se. But, again, they're looking at it as a crisis. We're not going to let this thing go to waste. We're going to take advantage. And that was her plan. It's meant to boost economic spending. Stimulus isn't meant as income replacement. It's meant to boost economic spending. Well, economic spending was up extremely high. And what was it, July? We had like the greatest month of economic spending in history or something like that. And Americans were sitting on the highest savings they'd had in years, but they had no work to return to. So people were just holding on to their money, even though they had a lot of it for a short period of time. But, that money's gone now. And the holidays are coming. And I look at Twitter and I see these comments. People are saying, because they're giving it to Yang for this. This is not a favorable thing. But again, you want Yang out there. You want him to have a documented position. And basically, his position is what, what is it, 84% Americans want. Actually, we have a quote. He did speak. Give me a second. Let me find his. He did speak on this. I'm sorry, my printer was acting funny last night. I usually send my notes to my printer, and then I can have this stuff ready for you guys in the morning. Yang says 84% of Americans want, let's see. I think he was on CNN 2 nights ago. This week, Andrew Yang, he was on CNN. Oh, I can't find it. If any one of you guys know what Andrew Yang was on the other day, but he actually did he was on something and he talked. Oh, here it is. Do your job, Congress. 1 second. One second. I found it, guys. Whew. All right. Let's see. Find that desktop audio. And Andrew, take it away.
Well, for the numbers understate the damage. There was a quote in an article that I think said it all. They said that the cars that are heading to the food banks are getting nicer. The damage is spreading throughout the American middle class. You're seeing people who never imagined they'd be in a situation where they'd have to go to a food bank or a shelter doing just that. And more people, as they become more distressed, are looking at our government saying, why can you not do what 82% of Americans agree is necessary, what every economist on both sides of the aisle agree is necessary? Do your job, Congress. This is why you're there. And if you can't get this done, then people are going to be paying a price at the ballot box in November, because a lot of folks I talk to are disgusted at the lack of leadership out of Washington.
All right, so let me move that out. Someone says my video screen is mirrored. I don't know what that means. I know this is not as tidy as my usual setup. I apologize. Thoughts on young kids putting money in the stock market over the last few months, taking advantage of the wild swings? Yeah, I made a bunch of money off Amazon over the last few months. It's the only company I believe in. I used to invest in I used to try to diversify my money. Then I realized I wasn't rich enough for that. So started getting super aggressive, and Amazon was the only company I really feel comfortable putting my money in. Been swing trading Amazon for the last 4 months. And as a result, we have this beautiful studio. So, yeah, but this is what we have to work with. It's like feast or famine out there. We have a dog eat dog world. We have incredible hyper capitalism and competition, and every man for himself. And, we wanted a humanity first economy where we look at how everything that we do can benefit people as opposed to simply, large companies. And we haven't changed that. And I don't think we're getting any closer to that. And, these events over the last few months, I felt like were a really good opportunity to make some significant change. And, I've really seen our leverage kind of dissipate over the last few months, which is incredibly disappointing. But I think in a few months when Joe Biden is sworn in, many Americans will, after they catch their breath and, enjoy the fact that they're not getting a constant tweet storm from the president, will remember that they wanted change from something, but they'll realize quickly that they're not going to get it. And for 4 years, they'll wait. And we'll see. Bezos became the world's richest man in history. Yeah, exactly. Meaning getting the free market to work for us. Yeah, that's not going to happen right now, unfortunately. Words can only be read in a mirror. Oh. Oh, they're upside down is what you're saying? If Biden wins, will the stock market dip? No, the stock market won't dip. I think, what's her face? Harris got up on stage, said Moody's rated Biden as a better candidate for the financial market. So, no, this is America, okay? Like, no matter what you want to believe about who's in power and Republicans, Democrats, and free markets and, taxation and tariffs, like, in general, I'm going to bet on America. You know what I mean? In general, I'm going to say we'll probably be fine no matter who is president. Even though president came in and was, destructive and erratic and did a lot of things that people didn't like, economy didn't really suffer, some sectors of business, sure. But for the most part, things have been rocking. And when Joe Biden becomes president, things will still be rocking. They'll still be rocking. It's not going to change things that dramatically. So I know that the left wing media gets you guys hyped up and they tell you all these crazy things about, if he comes in, or the right wing will come in, if Joe Biden comes in, everything will tank. No, taxes will go up for some people. That'll be annoying. They'll continue to pay their accountants, nice salaries to navigate the tax code as they've done, and we'll keep it moving. Remember Trump came in and he was going to put do our taxes on a postcard or something like that. Yeah. What about any of that? You bet on America, okay? You bet on America. If times get tough, bet on America, because if the markets crash, we're going to have way, way bigger problems, okay? So in the meantime, until the revolution comes, keep betting on America and you're going to be in good shape, because if the markets crash, our problems are going to be so much bigger than anything you can probably even fathom. You're not going to be worried about what your 401k is looking like. That's not going to be it. So you'll be okay. The only areas that really suffered were the ones that Trump directly had his hands on, like the tariffs. Yeah. S-Corp is how small business owners can finesse the taxes in a similar way. I look back on Andrew Yang's campaign and how weird the unintentionally predicted Humanity First campaign. Yeah. Oh, wait. Is that Ruslan? Oh, what's up, bro? Love your channel. Amazing content. I do appreciate you, man. You're doing some amazing work. I discovered you from the Yang campaign, and I was like, this guy's deep. I like him. I watch your channel. Keep up the good work. I love your setup. I love what you're doing. Oh, no doubt, man. Yeah, man. I would love to be on your channel, man. I love your perspective. You cover everything. I love your perspectives. Check him out. He's a good dude. So with that, I'm going to get out here. I got a bunch of work to do today, but I'm going to try to come back soon. There's a bunch of videos I want to cover today. You guys are awesome. Don't worry. You want Andrew Yang to stand for something. If people disagree, then so be it. There's no way you can go wrong as long as your position is with 84% of Americans. Stick to that. Okay. Don't get confused. Don't get upset. Don't get manipulated by these people on Twitter who have these loud voices and they say, oh, Andrew Yang, you had a failed campaign because of this, because you want what the people want. Yeah, no, that's the kind of guy you want in office. Trust me. See you guys soon. Peace.